What's up, guys? Doom Eternal time. Once again, but this time we're on the art carrier, skipping cutscenes. Because y'all want to watch that stuff on your own time. You don't want to sit around watching me watch cutscenes. Kind of forgot what all this looked like, though. Like, I totally forgot the Seraphim's just chilling over there, which, you know, that bothers me. Isn't Seraphim plural? Like, Seraph is singular, right? Shouldn't he just be the Seraph, not the Seraphim? Whatever. Religious studies student talking here, so, you know. Yeah, anyway, here we are. Blood Swamps. This is map 2 of the DLC. I'm super excited about this. I've been super pumped to get in and play.
I see your mission objective states that you're going to destroy the sphere, not retrieve it. That is not, sir, what Dr. Hayden, the Seraphim, has requested of us. You.
So, this is a relentless level. It's, I mean, really pretty much the DLC has a straight difficulty curve. It just goes straight up from the first map to the last. And so this one is in the middle, but it definitely introduces some of the tougher elements of the DLC. Mr. Giant Tentacle over here. Day of the Tentacle crossover episode. Yeah. This one is tough, but I actually do fairly well with it, aside from, you know, screwing around a bit and forgetting where some things are and stuff like that here and there. Mostly I just blast straight through it. I actually practiced this one first, so unlike a lot of the episodes that we've done on Pretty Average Nightmare, I've been practicing for the DLC because the DLC is hard. It's really tough. And so I did actually way better on this map than I thought I was going to. And you are going to see that support rune really come into play, the one that lets you save your extra lives, or gain back your extra lives. Now we start out with this Marauder Fight, which, I don't know, for some reason I'm butterfingering again. I've done this on video so many times now, and I never seem to do it when I'm not recording, and then as soon as I'm recording, I, like, cannot get my keys straight. So these weird, like, eggy mushroom things are kind of a new feature that is unique to this map. Something that you just kind of have to consider because it restricts your movement. I believe when you hit the gas, they're just proximity related, so if you get close, they burst. Okay. Quickly, we have these runes here. So we got the one where destroying a weak point does a blast, and then this punch where if you're health is 75 or less, you get more power out of your punch. The other support runes are not bad, but I think after you see this, the entirety of this episode, you'll realize why I've decided to go with the extra life recovery rune. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying about the mushrooms, I believe if you get hit by their noxious gas after they burst, I think it slows you down in addition to damaging you a bit. Though I honestly can't remember, so don't quote me on that 100%. So go down here, get some whatever, find our map. I tried not to use the map too much in this episode because the map music bug has been recurring for me. It seems to happen mostly not in a live campaign. I don't know what happened here. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Dude just drops dead for no reason. Like, I did not I did not put enough anything into that guy for him to die, so I don't know what the hell was going on with that. I would not call Doom Eternal a buggy game, but certainly there's a little weirdness for some reason in this episode. There's a couple of odd things that happen, like the dog that spawned in the door earlier, the Marauder ghost dog. So, and we'll see one other thing where I think I do a glory kill that ends me up in like a middle of a wall. So, not bug free. And right there, that was weird too. I feel like that dude died way too fast. So I'm literally going into the menu, I forgot where it was, but going into the menu to make sure I'm still on Nightmare, because there's like, what is this?
That's the key that opens the entrance
doesn't make
to
any
the Father's
sense.
tomb, which, according to our data, should be on the crest of a mountain just beyond this altar. That is the origin of the Father's realm.
Anyway, this is a cool map. I really like this map. It's just, it's got a neat look to it. I can definitely tell that I have grown as a player just in the time that I've been doing these videos, and I think you guys can probably see it as well if you go back and look at the start of Pretty Average Nightmare. You know, it doesn't start off too gracefully, to be honest. First couple episodes are a little rocky as I sort of regain my footing, having just come off of my first run with the Ancient Gods. And then I sort of get back into stride and learn a few new tricks along the way. Kind of, you can see a noticeable improvement in my my weapon swapping. So I'm still definitely not like top tier when it comes to that kind of stuff. My sniping got a lot better as well, I think. But just generally, I feel like I learned a lot over the course of that playthrough, and just honestly slowing down the time and explaining things to people helped me to kind of make some better, learn some nuances myself and sort of register those. So this isn't as tough as it looks. It kind of sucks because we have a buff totem that we can't get to until we destroy this Marauder, so they force you to take on a buffed Marauder. If you're bad at weapon comboing, this does kind of suck a bit. It's rough, I'm not gonna lie. Whereas if you're good at weapon comboing, it's not that much harder than just a standard Marauder. But the more you have to run away and reposition, the harder that fight is going to be. So that's worth noting. If you're gonna, as I said, weapon comboing will go a long way for you in terms of making this DLC more manageable, because it definitely is harder than the base game's content. So, from that hub area that we were in, that big sort of arena-like thing with the downed Titan in the background, you could go two ways. So we've chosen to go this way. So you'll have different first exposures to this mechanic depending on which way you go. But you can see here that we got this blue dude. For those of you unfamiliar with the DLC, that is a possessed enemy. We actually get a little bit lucky on this run with those guys. And I'll explain that as it happens, but for right now you can see that this dude is just extra fast and extra powerful. And once you knock him out, you basically get the spirit right out of him, and so I didn't actually intend for this to happen, but I ran low on ammo. You have to use the microwave beam on the plasma rifle to actually eliminate that enemy. And if you don't do it, it will just go into another enemy. So I've never actually had this happen before. You can see they kind of look like the summoners from 2016. And if there's no one for them to possess, they just disappear. Which is kind of crazy. I had no idea that that's the case because I've never I've never had one survive to the last enemy. There was always somewhere for them to go. So apparently that's what happens. If there's nowhere for them to go, they just disappear. And they will possess... I don't know if it's totally random or if they possess like the strongest enemy that's available. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it generally seems that they will possess stronger enemies over weaker ones. But it could also be random, I'm not sure. Or at least semi-random. Let's see, so in this arena, there's a handy little trick that some people will just find by accident, but there's a one-up down here, and if you crush this wall, it drains the water in this entire area, which makes it substantially easier. But yeah, as far as the spirits go, they're an interesting addition to the game, and a lot of people really don't like them because they are tough and they do require some thinking to get past. Got another of these giant tentacles here. And I just cannot seem... Okay, so you can see that I did get slowed down there by hitting that gas. So not only does it damage you, it makes you slow, and that's no good. Take out our buddy here. And here's our next bug. I think I'm actually inside the base of that mushroom thing. I'm not sure. So there's a fair bit of like environmental stuff in this level, just hazards that need to be avoided. Some platforming things that need to be gone through. Get that armor back there. And here's one of the next challenging bits of this particular path. We start with just a ton of zombies that need to be taken care of. And this works in my favor. So you will see, actually, that the Arachnotron is normally what is possessed here. But because we have an empowered Arachnotron, the game apparently refuses to possess empowered enemies. So instead, what we actually had was a possessed zombie. So now you can see what it's like to actually take one of these things out. And you get a nice stun when it happens. So it is difficult in the sense that it takes a good couple of seconds for you to actually get those spirits with the microwave beam. But when you do, you get a nice big explosion that staggers everything. So this actually worked out in our favor. Normally, you kind of have to be a lot more careful in here, because that Arachnotron will be the one that has the spirit. And believe me when I tell you that they fire a lot faster if they just hose the area with projectiles. And it might also be that you can't take out their weak points. I'm actually not sure. It's really hard to hit them at any rate, just because they're so fast. So in this case, actually having empowered demons on might actually help you. Where in the base game, you know, it could make things easier to turn them off. By now, hopefully it won't be a problem for you by the time you hit the DLC, and it might actually work in your favor for now. I don't know if that's something that they may end up patching out, but for now at least, that seems to be the case, because it's happened to me a couple of times. And this is the next big area here. This is tricky, not because there's a tyrant, although of course there is, but because there are two invisible whiplashes in here. And they're really the more dangerous thing, because if you lose track of them, which it's easy to do in this kind of foggy arena, they can make your life real difficult and give that tyrant an opportunity to take you down, especially because they can juggle you with their ground furrows. Watch out for this tentacle that's guarding the armor. The sneaky little dude. And we have a kind of a secret back here. I don't know that it actually qualifies as a secret, but okay, well, I guess it does. And I'm not 100% on this either. I thought there were two sets of spawns, and so it may be, because this happened to me in both of my practice playthrough and then this one, where I left that Hell Knight alive, just honestly kind of by accident. And then went and got the stuff and came back and killed him. But I thought there were two sets of spawns, that there was another set of spawns that happens after you kill the first two, go get the stuff, and then come back. But not 100% sure about that. So we have another possessed Hell Knight here. Really, the trick with these guys is to just stagger and run away as much as you can. The danger, of course, there is that it's really easy for this Dread Knight to hit you while you are trying to microwave beam the spirit. So with that taken care of, it's not really a big deal. But that can be actually fairly tricky. And it sucks because if you die here, the checkpoint is before the tyrant and the whiplashes. Double checking some of my settings here, making sure. I tried to stream the other night. It did not work. Or, you know, tried to do like a not even a stream, but just a live recording. And I'm having too many audio issues. It's just not working out, sadly. And my setup here just is not conducive to it, unfortunately. So. Which is okay, honestly. I'd probably do better doing this commentary separately anyway, but in the future it'd be fun if I could stream some Ultra Nightmare runs or something, but... Sorry, we have a little artifacting. I'm not sure where that came from, but... Had a few minor technical issues over the course of this. So knocking that block down here will open the secret encounter. So this is one where weapon comboing will help you a ton. Save you a little time. Because the primary issue is just that these guys take a minute to kill. So, completed that with plenty of time, but it's definitely harder. It was a lot harder for me on my first go-around, since I couldn't kill the enemies nearly as quickly, so of course they're also a lot more dangerous. Make good use, since it's a small space, of your ice bomb and grenades. That'll help you a lot. So from here, there's a couple of these little platforming trials. They're not especially difficult. They're honestly just kind of fun. The movement stuff in Doom Eternal is so much fun. Like, it moves so quickly that, like, honestly, I think it's cool. I could almost see this being like an interesting thing you could do for multiplayer, like a race or something, having people try to race each other through some of this stuff. That could be an entertaining thing, I don't know. Kind of went the wrong way there, honestly. Could have gone the other way around. It would have been a little faster, but it's really not a huge deal. Probably at most you'll have like a mistake and, you know, fall and go back or something, but they're not too tough. Just kind of a nice break from the action since these DLC levels are relentless. Try and regain a little bit of stack here, so we're pretty well full up. I think he takes us down a peg, but and I'm not sure exactly what happened there. It seems that monkey bars are not like a 100% thing. Like maybe you actually need to approach them somewhat from that angle rather than like if they're, you know, essentially pointing straight out toward you. That might not work on those rotating ones. I don't know. It's the first time I think I've ever had that happen, but take out this pain elemental, get our armor, and there's a codex entry up here. Lots and lots of lore stuff in this DLC, if that's the kind of thing that interests you. And this actually isn't immediately obvious that this is the way to go, but I can appreciate some of the sights on our way to the next battleground. It's a really cool looking level. Though I'm honestly a little unclear about it, like fictionally, what the context for this is, but I'll have to go back and read some of that stuff later to remind myself. So this is a big, tough arena. This is almost guaranteed to be a roadblock for anyone who's being challenged by this DLC. The first thing to do is just get rid of that buff totem. Just make your life easier. Don't drag it out. Go straight for it. We start off with a gaggle of revenants here, in addition to some of the respawning enemies. There are zombies and gargoyles to start. And I believe after the next phase, we also have shield guys and carcasses. Though I'm not sure that the carcasses respawn. They might be one-offs. You can see, okay, now there's prowlers that spawn at some point, and up there on the left we've got some BFG ammo, so that is of course something to bear in mind, because BFG ammo is highly useful in this very difficult DLC. Try and take out a carcass, and we've got this Hell Knight that spawns like it's a pair of them. It's really easy to run out of ammo, just because there's so much stuff to shoot at. Ice bombs are great for circumstances like that, and then once we finish that wave, we've got another buff totem. And that spawns over here behind that podium next to the other end of the teleport that this arena has. And it's actually right below, I don't think we've seen it on screen yet, but it's directly below a Mega Health. So if you're in really dire straits, when I first went through this, I was usually in fairly bad shape by the time that totem spawned, so I would grab that Mega Health at the same time as I went to get the totem. This pair of tyrants isn't too bad. Hopefully, if you've had a chance to train a little bit on some of the master levels, you've gotten a bit used to like, okay, there are tyrants, sure, we know how to deal with them. And we've also got a pair of barons as well. So there's lots of good opportunities in the DLC generally, but certainly in this level I would say even more so than the first, to use your chain gun with its energy shield. It can be really useful for getting out of a jam. It's pretty good in this arena as well, just given the layout of the arena. Lots of good opportunities where you have sort of a bunch of enemies kind of being funneled to you that you can get in your crosshairs and do a bunch of damage to. So I guess mobile turret would also be useful in that. In the same way. So now the tough bit here is we get Possessed Baron. So these possessed guys are tough, not just because they're extra fast, but of course they are super fast, and that makes them bad. So I opted to just use my BFG there to get myself a little breathing room, kill off a few guys, stun the Baron. And now I'm trying to stack back up a little, because I'm not super high on my stack, and what I really want to do here, and this is tough, it's kind of a catch-22 because you're sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't, but it's really better to kill the tougher enemies before you kill the possessed one. It's tempting to try and go straight for the possessed one because, of course, that is more dangerous and you want it out of your hair faster. But you run the risk of that spirit possessing a different enemy. I don't know what was going on there. Like, why didn't I go for the glory kill? I could see that he was staggered, and so for some reason I didn't go for it. I don't know, but yeah, it's very tempting to go straight for the jugular with those guys. But generally speaking, it's not worth the risk, and it's a little safer to kill the other tough enemies in case you are in a circumstance where you don't realize, oh shit, I'm actually out of, you know, my plasma cells. And so I don't actually have enough to kill this spirit, and it's going to go possess one of the other tougher enemies again. And then you're sort of back to square one, where you have this tough possessed enemy that you have to kill all over again. Obviously, you get lucky sometimes, and it'll possess a less difficult enemy, or, you know, maybe that's all that's left over. And so that's the ideal circumstance. If you fail to get it, is there's only lesser enemies around, so that's what it ends up grabbing. And those really aren't a big deal. They're certainly more dangerous than their base selves, but not super life-threatening. So don't be surprised if this is a tough fight that you have to redo any number of times. My first time through, I definitely
indicate that
spent
hundreds of warriors have died trying to do this. Just
probably
to
a
meet
solid
the father.
hour on this. So now we're back to the hub. So you can see we've still got one door to go through. You can do these in either order that you like. It doesn't really make any difference. I've done it both ways, and I don't find it to be, you know, any better to do one versus the other first. But depending on your experience, it may end up being, you know, easier or harder to do one or the other. So you might opt to either, you know, put the hard one off until last or get it out of the way first. Forgot about this guy. So you immediately start taking damage in this area, and that's where our goodest boy, our very goodest doggo friend here, is going to help us out. I love this dude. So some people really hate this, this particular bit here. I didn't struggle with it that much the first time. It's not to say that it wasn't, you know, a bit difficult and that I had to kind of make my way through it, but I believe it checkpoints you after each one, if I'm not mistaken. After each of these sort of mini segments along this journey, where your dog friend keeps you protected and leads you through this part of the level. So he pops out again and takes you on to the next bit. He moves a little faster than you, so you kind of have to probably dash in there to keep up with him. Taking out those podiums is always a good first priority, just so they don't bother you while you're trying to fight everything else. So you can see me kind of getting juggled by those ground furrows here. That's one of the things you really have to watch out for with whiplashes, especially in confined spaces like this. That's kind of what makes this difficult, and it's sort of the feature of this level is restricting your movement. That's what those, you know, exploding mushroom things do as well, as they kind of restrict your movement a bit, don't let you move as freely as you might like to. Certainly you can still move around, but it's, you know, a different kind of movement, a different kind of dodging that you have to do. So while some people may get frustrated by it, it's also really good practice. I mean, that's one of the reasons I got so much better at the game than I was when I first started, because it throws all these new scenarios at you that you may not have, you know, had as much practice with. So, you know, you get a little better if you're like moving around this confined space and staying alive when you're under significant pressure from multiple enemies without a lot of places to retreat. So you can't go outside the circle, as you saw there. And I don't think it's like crazy super damaging, but you do take damage. So I lost my life there, and you can see the countdown timer. Thankfully, it was easy for me to take him out and get my life back. So honestly, that's like, to me, one of the most overpowered things I think in this DLC is the ability to get your extra lives back. And it's really kind of good, because the last encounter of the DLC is just bonkers tough. Like, I'm actually kind of dreading having to do it again and show people how bad I am at it. I'm just really hoping that my skill level has increased even more than I think it has, because I really struggled with that the first time. It's pretty tough. Although I will say, the last boss fight on Nightmare is not as difficult, or was not for me at the time anyway, as the final Slayer Gate. That thing just murdered me. But we'll see. That's next map, so we'll see how I do there. So this one here, you know, we had the shield guys. That's kind of the big worry at the start. Making good use of your chainsaw and your blood punches and all of that will go a long way. Grenades too. Will go a long way toward mitigating those shield guys, and then everything else is just kind of, you know, some larger enemies that you have to kill. Now this one is probably the toughest for most folks, because it's got a Marauder. So while, again, once you're good at weapon comboing, it's not so bad. It does take some doing. And it helps a lot if you can finish taking out that eyeball podium right at the start, before the fight proper really begins. And I believe, I'm not sure if all of those are segmented, but at least the Marauder Fight is. So once you make it that far, at the very least, I know there's a checkpoint, which makes it a lot more doable. At least I'm pretty sure. That's how I remember it. So I kind of got a little secret back here, which I do wrongly. Should go down there, I think, because I think you can also pick this up from the bottom. But yeah, you can, but you can't get back up there. Or maybe you can and I just missed it. I don't know. Whatever. There might be something over to the left that I'm missing. Might be an extra platform over there, but It's easy to get lost here, so you'll have to forgive me for wandering around the map. I didn't want to actually use my auto map because I was just afraid of that map music bug, which is such a bummer. I really hope they get that patched out soon. Like, honestly, that thing is annoying enough that it should be a hotfix. Like, it really needs to be prioritized. So I'll find my way back here and just go around again. There's a few other things to get in this, but this is the area we need to go through in order to actually progress. So I might actually have just been able to jump back up here, but whatever. Slight detour, but we'll get here in the end. So climb up here, knock this block down, and I actually, it's the door right, just to the right there. I'm looking directly at it. But for some reason I'm thinking that I need to go back here to where the secret encounter is, but that's not the door that opens. They don't make you work that hard for the secrets in the DLC, so I'm hoping there might be a couple more devious ones in Ancient Gods Part 2, but we'll see. Really do like the look of this level, like it's really interesting. Very different from all the stuff we've seen before, which is one of the nice things about the DLC. These are big, substantial levels that all have a pretty unique look to them. So this secret encounter is really just a DPS thing, just Caco Demon's always a bit of a worry because they can sneak up on you and kill you very fast. But that's really kind of a big life-threatening thing. Other than that, it's just spend all that ammo, delete these guys as fast as you can. So with that done, if you want to run around and find, you know, armor, health, ammo, there, you know, may or may not be a bunch of stuff that you left on your first walk through here with your dog. Such a good dog. I really hope in DLC 2 we get like a, I don't know, anything. Even if I can just pet the dog, I'll be super happy. Oops, totally overshot that. So there are lots of the mini tentacles in the swamp here. So if you do mess up, just be mindful of that. You can really just kind of run past them, but... or, you know, dash past them at least. So we get our big fat armor, and we're ready to take on the next challenge. Which is just another one of these. You don't actually have to watch these, but I was, you know, having a coffee. This one's pretty much the same as the first. There isn't any real substantive difference. Shoot the targets, grab the things, do your jumps. Avoid the fireballs. And you can go faster if you take it on the other side there, which I failed to do in the first one. Rather than having to tiptoe around the other side while it goes. And careful here too, we've got more tentacle friends. Hiding out in this otherwise somewhat refreshing looking water. So this is another challenging bit. Start by, you know, actually hitting this eyeball thing instead of just missing it repeatedly. We've got a whole mess of imps, and really they're good to just get your stack back up. And you kind of want to make sure that you don't kill them. This is just terrible. I just get stuck in this corner by this rampaging possessed Baron. It's terrible. Thankfully I managed to get out of there before dying, but this guy appears as soon as you take out the imps, so make sure you're ready for him when you do that. And really the trick here is this guy can just get on you so fast. Your greatest reprieve is when he has to spend a little bit of extra time going up or down in elevation, because he has to jump instead of just running. And once you do enough damage to him, another Baron will spawn. So really, the best way to handle this here is to damage the possessed Baron until this other guy spawns, and then just stop. Switch targets. Go to this normal Baron instead, and finish him off. Because it's super easy, you know, to screw something up with the spirit, and of course you have to stand there with the microwave beam, and you're not super mobile while that's happening. And if the other Baron's around, he can very easily kill you while you're trying to take out this spirit. So this is definitely the better way to do it. That's kind of how I always recommend, is just always wait to take out that spirit. They're honestly easier to avoid than they are to fight. So if you remove some of those distractions, some of the other enemies, it makes it a little bit easier for you to take them out anyway, when the time comes. So this arena here is another tough spot. This is kind of the big penultimate fight on this side of that hub. And we start out with a couple of Barons, Cyber Mancubus, and 2 Mancubi. Do watch your ammo usage. There's lots of trash mobs, but they do kind of move in waves around this map, so sometimes you will have to like hunt down one of them in order to, you know, get some of your ammo back and such. Or for armor as well if you're in a pinch. It can take a little doing. The second wave here is a bunch of Revenants. I still haven't finished off this Mancubus over here either. Getting guys grouped together here and using grenades and ice bombs or rocket launcher works really well. Since this is a fairly open arena, it's got some, you know, chokier points and areas where you kind of have to slow down a bit. But generally it'll help a lot. Keep you mobile. It's a pretty mobile arena. So you can see we lucked out there again. Normally that Arachnotron is the possessed one, and instead it's just an imp. So we've gotten super lucky on 2 of these encounters now, because we had Empowered Demons on. And while Empowered Demons are tougher, you know, they're not really a big deal, especially not compared to a possessed enemy. So that helps us out a lot, actually. And once you've defeated the Arachnotrons, you've got to worry about this guy. As per the usual, just do your best to get rid of him. I'm leaving that possessed spirit alone for the most part. I think he just might have gotten the McGlory kill there after that blood punch, but you know, I'm not pursuing, just leaving that alone. And then here, I realized, oops, I did kill him, but I'm not sure where he went, or it went. I know that the spirits are gendered. And we've got another Archvile over here that needs to be dealt with. So I'm not actually sure what happened to the spirit. I don't think, actually maybe, I guess I didn't even realize that it's actually in the Doom Hunter. When I was playing, I don't think I even put that together. But there you go, that's what can happen when you unleash a spirit and it ends up finding a new host. So I'm in a kind of a bad way. I'm gonna find some enemies, get my stack, get some ammo, I didn't even realize that I was going to be fighting an extra tough version of this, but that does explain why it felt like I was on the back foot here. So I feel reasonably confident now. I've got a blood punch up, so I go in there. He takes me down. I really want that life back, so I'm going for the shots to his sled. You know, not gonna do the whole, and I actually managed to get it, just in the nick of time there. But I wasn't gonna switch to the, plasma cannon to take out his shield, because you really need that stuff for the spirit afterward. So that's one of the things that makes the spirits tricky. You really don't necessarily want to use your ballista or your plasma cannon. Plasma rifle? I think I've been calling it the plasma cannon, but it's actually the plasma rifle. Whatever. So it kind of forces you to use some other ammo sets.
May you serve the makers in all their glory.
So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of
complete the shield.
how the spirit works at this point. The different things they can do. So surprisingly, we finished all of this without losing a life. I'm very happy about that. This is, I guess, better than the average for me. I have improved a whole lot since the first time I was here. So we have a boss fight now. Kind of. This is a unique encounter. These guys, and this is a frustrating theme of this DLC, is that if they hit you, they slow you down. There's a lot of different things in this DLC, not just this map, but in this DLC generally, that will affect your movement and your ability to move quickly. So you can kind of get a little bit of a reprieve with chainsaws and glory kills, and you want to keep your armor topped up. And generally, I found the best thing to use is the ballista to shoot these eyeballs. Take care of that pinky with the blood punch, just to get them off our back. These enemies will, however, keep respawning if you kill them, so it's not, you don't want to prioritize killing all the enemies and then focusing on the eyeball. That's not going to do it. And now we've got 2 eyeballs, so it's even more imperative that you focus on the eyeball and not worry about these other guys. Save your grenades. You don't need to use those against the eyeballs themselves, so you can use grenades to just kind of fire one off to the side or behind you or wherever enemies may be encroaching. And if you can get a quick flame belch in there, so much the better. And just let those grenades kind of keep them off your back a bit. And if you need to, of course, you can turn around and blood punch them as well. And for some reason that just was not working. But there it goes. So you'll have to do that each time you knock one of those guys out. And if you leave the block sitting there in that green state for too long, they will just regenerate. So it's fairly tough. It probably, take you a few times as you sort of get used to it, but the strategy I detailed before, I think, has worked really well for me. And that's it. We've come to the end of the level. And there is a magnificent cutscene at the end of this, with a bunch of, story stuff, and also just some really cool visuals. So I'm double checking to make sure I haven't missed anything, because this is where the fast travel unlocks, and as soon as you hit the button, that's it. You're on rails for the cutscene until the end. So make sure you don't hit the button until you're sure that you've gotten everything you want to. And then my dog started barking, and I had to do a thing, but it's all good. So yeah, that is the second map of the DLC. It went a lot more smoothly than I thought it was going to, if I'm being perfectly honest. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed it and learned something about that particular map. And now we're really going to have to put our skills to the test on the third one, because that is the crowning glory for everything that's not the Super Gore Nest Master level. So I will see you guys next time. Take care.